Hi guys, this is Fentress Charles, aka Fenny, and today is part 2 of Behold the Dreamer Cometh. Okay, so I am combing through scripture from the Bible, and the main point for me combing through the scripture is the fact it's talking about dreaming, dreamer, dreams coming true. And this was mentioned on a call, the morning call that I listen to every morning, and a reference was made to this scripture, and so I decided to pull up my sleeves and dig back into scripture. I grew up on scripture. I am rusty with the Bible, and so I was like, let me just go back and look over this story. Anyway, in the last video I left off, it's Genesis chapter 39 verse 21. So we know that Joseph is sold by his brothers. At first they wanted to kill him because they didn't like the fact that he was doted on by his father, and he had his coat of many colors, and then he had the nerve, the gall to receive dreams, quote unquote, have a dream. It could be either or. How does it relate to us in life? We have dreams, and our family members or friends or close loved ones may not agree with it, or may not like us because of it, or may even try to hinder it from coming to pass. So this is basically what happened. Okay, so they decided to kill him, but Reuben, his brother, came. I think Reuben is his brother, but it just says Reuben heard it and delivered him out of their hands and said, "Let us not kill him." And Reuben said unto them, "Shed no blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands, to deliver him to his father again." So I guess, yeah. Okay. And it came to pass, when Joseph was come unto his brethren, that they stripped Joseph out of his coat of many colors that was on him, and they took him and cast him into a pit, and the pit was empty, there was no water in it. And they sat down to eat bread. See, look at this. They threw him in the pit, and they're all fine, cool, and dandy, and they're sitting down to eat the lunch, the dinner. Would you believe that? And they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead with their camels, bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt. And Judah said unto his brethren, "What profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh." And his brethren were content. Okay, so he's your brother. You love you. Hey, he's of our flesh. He is related to us. So killing you is not good enough. Well, that didn't come out right. Killing you isn't good. That's it. But selling you into slavery is. Hey, I guess they figured he was still alive. But think about it. Yes, they didn't like him, but then the dreaming, that's what pushed it over the edge for them, okay? Because remember, in the dream, he talked about the sheaves of wheat, and how in the end that his brothers would, pay homage to him. Okay, so now, Then there passed by Midianites merchantmen, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit, and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. And they brought Joseph into Egypt. And Reuben returned unto the pit, and behold, Joseph was not in the pit. And he rent his clothes. Rent, rip to shreds, rupture, split, rent his clothes. And he returned unto his brethren and said, "The child is not, and I, whither shall I go?" So now Jacob mourns Joseph. And they took Joseph's coat, and killed a kid of goats, and dipped the coat in blood. And they sent the coat of many colors, as they brought it to their father, and said, "This have we found. know now whether it be thy son's coat or no. And he knew it, and he said, It is my son's coat. An evil beast hath devoured him. Joseph is without doubt rent in pieces. So he's ripped to shreds. And Jacob rent his clothes, and put sackcloth upon his loins, and mourned for his son many days. And all his sons and all his daughters rose up to comfort him. But he refused to be comforted, and he said, For I will go down into the grave unto my son mourning. Thus his father wept for him. And the Midianites sold him into Egypt unto Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh's and captain of the guard. All right. So now the father is weeping for his lost son that he believes is destroyed. So now you're thinking, David, I'm here giving you, mixing up people. Joseph. Joseph said that his family, his brothers, his father would pay obeisance, homage to him, right? How's he going to do that? And he is basically a shepherd boy. Anyway, I'm going to fast forward because it's a lot of chapters. There's quite a bit of reading between there. Joseph was brought to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him from the hands of the Ishmaelites. And basically, they're saying that the Lord was with Joseph, and he became a prosperous man. And he was a prosperous man, Potiphar. And he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. Long story short, Potiphar put him in charge of all of his affairs and so forth in his house. And Potiphar's wife started to, find Joseph being very attractive. So after a while, Potiphar's wife started coming on to Joseph, and Joseph declined because he thought it was a wicked thing. And he's like, my master has given me all these things in this position, and he's done very well. He's treated me very well. Why would I do a wicked thing and lay with his wife, So, the wife then flipped the script and said that Joseph tried to come on to her, and later on, Joseph was falsely imprisoned, okay? While he was in prison, the Lord was with him. This dude, he runs into these bad situations and he's still optimistic. Next thing you know, he's over head of certain affairs in prison. Okay, so then he runs into a cupbearer and the baker, and they have these disturbing dreams, and he basically interprets these disturbing dreams. And it was bad news for one, and it was good news for another. The Pharaoh had a birthday, and he had a feast, that he had a feast unto all his servants. And he lifted up the head of the chief butler and of the chief baker among his servants. And he restored the chief butler unto his butlership again. And for the chief baker, he was hung. Okay, he was hung. So then after that, when they became free enough to go to the festivities, Joseph was like, please don't forget me. Don't forget me. And they said that they wouldn't because they were so happy he interpreted the dreams. But they went about their life and they forgot about him, especially the chief butler. That's the one that's still living. Okay, the chief butler, next thing you know, the Pharaoh's having disturbing dreams, and then the chief butler remembers and tells the Pharaoh. So then Joseph comes and he tells the Pharaoh, interprets his dream, and they talk about famine and saving food and stuff. I'm fast forwarding. I might be a little rusty in this, but he does all that. And then next thing you know, his family are without food, and the father heard that, hey, there is corn in Egypt. So the father of Joseph sends his brothers there to get food. Then there's this back and forth. Joseph, his brothers don't recognize him. And then towards the end, they they go, he tests them. They still don't know it's him. And they speak amongst themselves, the brothers, in their native tongue or language, and they don't know that Joseph understands them because they don't know it's Joseph. After a while, later on, Joseph reveals himself. The brothers, they weep. The father weeps. They're glad to see him. And because he was in Egypt, and mind you, the Pharaoh has put David up on another pedestal and in charge of certain things, and because he just had a good spirit about him. Anyway, the point of this long drawn out story, and if I missed some pieces, you can always go back. You can start at Genesis 39 and read all the way through to 45, chapter 45. The point is, he told his brothers not to, be vexed about it, because it was meant for him to go through these things. And the funny thing is, all of those were temporary setbacks that led up, that were part of the mosaic in order for him to then save his brothers' lives or to be in a position to help them. Think about it. You're a shepherd boy with your brothers tending to your flock. How can you, of a different faith, come into possession of such authority or privileges? It was unheard of. How would he get there? His brothers had to plot against him in order to get there. He had to be sold into slavery in order to get there. Someone had to favor him in some light to get there in order for him to occupy that position, in turn to help his family. So, was it a blessing or a curse that his brothers didn't like him? Life is so deep. How can I relay that back to us dreaming? The trials, the tribulations, the things that we go to help us and are part of the mosaic of us realizing our dreams, of snatching our dreams and living it. Okay, I hear a phone in the back. I'm like, what is that weird noise? I really don't recognize that ringtone. Anyway, guys, it was lovely reading the scriptures to you today. It was interesting for me to go back and look through this. So now I'm like, okay, this is fascinating. How many parables, how many stories, ancient stories, not necessarily biblical, has the same message over and over and over again for us, just waiting for us to tear into it, to apply the principles to our lives. Anyway, guys, I'm signing off. I see you all in the next video. Please say it with me. I endeavor to snatch back my dreams and live it. Peace.